Hello. Well, if you're regulars to my channel, you'll have seen me work before on Sanyo and then later Sony Betamax video recorders. So today, let's work on Toshiba. Something really old here as well. Let's get stuck in. What do we have here then? This is a Toshiba Beta video recorder. It's an old mechanical type. It's not in great condition. These are supposed to have silver button tops on them. They're missing. There's a dent there. The display appears to be damaged. There's a large black section in the display. It's not in the best condition at all, is it? Even worth repairing. Oh, look at the mains lead. Someone's bodged on a bit of mains wire there. Toshiba model V5470B. I would say that one is not much use. Probably spares only. However, that might be useful. Because what I have here is another one. All the silver button tops are in. A couple of gashes in the case, but not really very deep. That one will polish out. Display looks intact. Mains cable present, but absolutely filthy. I'm going to clean that before I dare plug this thing in. But other than that, this one looks like a goer. It's a bit dirty, but it looks like it's worth fixing. So I think what we'll do is have a go at fixing this one, and if we need any spares, we'll raid them off the other one. Right, let's start by cleaning this cable and then plugging it in. Okay, having given the machine and the cable a clean, let's plug it in and see what we get. Right, it's on a isolation transformer. Aha! Clock. That's good. Let's see, how do you set the clock? Time adjust, hours, minutes. Okay, that's good. This is in standby. That says standby timer function, so I switch on. Is that what I do to switch it on? Yes, I think so. And then it says function on. This all looks quite promising. Eject. Slightly odd noise. It's probably trying to unlace or something. Also, I can see the pinch roller, and it's covered in mould. Okay. Let's take the lid off and have a look inside. Top comes off. 3 screws are in there. I don't want to lose those. Put them somewhere safe. That pinch roller is quite horrible. I don't know if you can see that. There. Very dirty and a little bit rumbly. Might need a bit of a lubrication. So let's start by cleaning it with some isopropyl alcohol. Certainly looks a bit better. I will apply a little. I use some aerosol grease, which I think would be ideal for this. It's a light grease. Okay. Switch it on again. What's it trying to do? I can see the head is trying to spin and is sticking. So there's a problem. We need to find out what the problem is behind that. Clearly there are belt problems, so we'll look underneath the deck. I'll power it down. We'll go underneath. Oh, I powered it down and I think it's gone back into the position I can close the lid, so that's good. Let's have a look underneath. Now, I'm not familiar with this model, so bear with me a little. I need to find out how to swing this panel out. It looks like it's hinged there. Panel's quite bent. Where are the hinges? The hinges at the back or the front? How does it come apart? This panel here is mounted on the metal frame, and it appears that that frame... No, it doesn't hinge. I don't understand. I may have undone the wrong screw. I'd say I've undone the wrong screw. I'm assuming that there is an easy way to remove the board from underneath so you can get good access, because this vintage of equipment was always built to be easy to access. But right now I haven't just spotted how to get this panel out of the way. Would I have to undo the screws on the circuit board itself? Aha! I knew it'd be easy in the end. Let's refit one of the screws I accidentally took out. Now we can see what we have. So there's a large belt here, which seems to be a little sloppy. That'll certainly need replacing. The head drum motor, this motor here, doesn't have a belt at all. But it has a pulley at the top. And there's something on here, on the capstan. Remnants of something in places, which might have been a drive belt, but not this drive belt, because it's in the wrong place. So I now have to try to work out where the drive belts would have gone. There's another drive belt here, which seems to be in pretty good condition actually. And what does that connect to? Maybe the tape counter? Yes, that's on the tape counter. So that belt may not have anything to do with these and may not need dealing with at all. There's a belt here on what's obviously a loading motor. Which I would suggest needs replacing regardless. My biggest question at the moment is what drives this capstan motor? Never disassemble this frame reinforcement. Okay, so they have to stay there. I would say on the bottom of this pulley is a bit more garbage that looks like this, so I'd say there's a drive belt supposed to be between these two. Let's pop this pulley off and have a look. So there's some remnants there of a belt that was presumably connected to this. There's a reason that strikes me as a little odd. This is grooved. And this is flat. But there's a grooved position here. So I'm beginning to think that this may have had 3 belts total. One to this motor. No, that can't be. You can't have that. Because this is a motor. Do you know, I'm beginning to think I might go and look for a service manual to see if I can work out how the belts were laid out in here. Well, I've not had much luck finding out how to lay out the belts in this machine. I can't find a service manual. So what I could do is have a look at the second machine, and if by chance the belts are in better condition on that one, it might give me a clue where the belts should lay out in the machine I'm trying to repair. So let's give that a whirl. Well, I don't think so. We've got this long belt here, but nothing else. Some sort of debris left on the capstan flywheel. And that's all I have. Nothing else to go on. There seems to be some matching debris on the bottom of this pulley. Yes, I'm now happy. There was a belt between the capstan flywheel and this motor. But what was going on with the drum motor, where that was being driven from, I don't yet know. Or rather, what that was driving. Was it driving this? Yes, I think so. I think there should be a belt from here to here, and from belt from here to here. Okay. So that motor to the capstan flywheel, and this motor, which is seized on this machine, to what I believe is probably the real drive. Okay. I'll put this one back together for a moment. Armed with that, let's see what we can do here. So this belt goes to that pulley, that's fine, that's up there. Then we should have another belt from here to the capstan, and another belt from here to there. Right. And remembering, never disassemble this frame reinforcement. It's slightly in the way. Strangely, that belt seems to be in serviceable condition. I may replace it anyway if I have something. I have a big box of drive belts. So one thing I need to do is get rid of this debris here. And there should be some on the bottom of this. Yes, there is, you see. Very unusual. The drive belts have turned into this crusty material. I've never seen that before. Very often they turn to a sort of goo, but I've not seen them turn into something quite as dried out as this before. I need to clean that off. Okay, I think I'll change this belt anyway. That's from here to here. There's also a drive belt here, which I think I'll change anyway, and then we also need to find replacements for the two that have perished and disappeared. Should we have a look at this one? Not sure how easy this is to take off. Fairly easy. Yeah, that's worth replacing. Let's find a replacement for that one first. That feels right. That feels like it's in on the grooves and there's no twists, so I like that. So now we want one from here, this pulley, to here. Again, it looks like it's a fairly thick belt. Like this one, it's probably 2 or 2.5 millimeters. There's a decent thickness and quite a long one. It might be quite hard to find that. How about that? Much too short. Anyway, that's in a bag marked up pneumatic, so clearly that's what it's really for. You may have seen my video where I service some pneumatic video recorders. I suspect this is too big. Yep, too big, but it gives me an idea of the size I'm aiming for. Just a bit smaller than that, maybe 15 millimeters smaller. So if I can't find something, it gives me an idea of the sort of size of belt I should be ordering. You know what? That might do for now. I'd say that belt's a bit tight, but for now, I think we'll get by with that one. Will I order something a better size? Now we need a flat belt from this motor to the capstan pulley. That again could be challenging. I suspect this is too big. Oh, you never know, luck. Right, I'm going to have to release this bracket. That looks pretty good. Okay, now this belt will probably do for now if I can't find a replacement right away, but then I can at least order based on that size. Ah, there's a pulley position on here, so there must be another belt. Now, given that this one is driven by this, that extra groove there must be to drive something else, so it's not connected to this. So what have I missed? Is there any possibility that that's there and not used on this machine? Unlikely. But you can't rule it out. There's a location here which doesn't appear to have anything on it, but looks like something could mount there. Looks like the mounting's for a motor, actually. I'm going to have to assume that doesn't do anything. But while poking about in here, I see there's another belt down here, which is the loading motor, so I'll need to do that as well. Right, so let's try to replace this, and if not, just take measurements from it and order one. I've been rather lucky with the belts, haven't I? I think that will work. So there's a loading motor belt down here, which is a little fiddly to get to. Taking it off was easy, but putting a new one on is going to be quite hard, I suspect. Too short. This is a Toshiba Beta belt. Too long. I would say that's about right. Okay, we'll fit that one. And I'm not allowed to take this bracket off. Oh. On most machines, a loading motor is the easiest belt to change. Well, I've never known anything like this. This is the hardest machine in the world to change a loading motor belt. Because obviously, they did it without this bracket being in the way when they assembled it. And now they say you must not remove it. Well, how in heaven's name are you supposed to change this belt otherwise? Well, what do you think? Think I'm going to have to take this off? Never disassemble this frame enforcement. Well, I'm sorry, but I cannot possibly change the belt any other way. Okay, I think I have that located. No thanks to Toshiba and their poor design. Okay, so we've replaced all the belts that I can find. I'm still a bit worried about that one that's missing on that pulley. But they appear to be all in. I may regret doing the screws up on the PCB, but just for a moment I will, so that it makes it easier to put it back on its on the right way around, and we'll see if the machine tries to run. I'm aware that I still have a belt to replace when I can get one of the right size. Also, I'm going to have a look at the pinch roller and see if I have a replacement for that. But right now, let's try power it up. That's an odd noise, isn't it? That noise. Remember, this is an always laced Beta machine, so if there's a motor running, it would imply that it's trying to unlace, possibly, but it is unlaced. I can see the capstan is spinning when that noise is going on. What do you think it's trying to do? No, it won't go down. Won't stay down. It will with stop. So let's get this clear. When I press eject, a motor runs. When I stop, it doesn't. If I put a tape in and press stop, stop latches down. That's not supposed to happen. Surely it doesn't sit there with stop down, does it? I can hear the motor was running for a moment then. Doesn't help that I don't know how the machine works. Ooh. So that's play. Stop is still down. The head is spinning, but it's not laced. The capstan appears to be rotating. Not sure how to get it out of this position. Oh, intriguing. Why is it not lacing? Okay, we're going to have a look underneath, aren't we? Power it off properly. I want to see if the loading motor is running at all. That's this one where I had this awful belt to change. Sometimes, you know, you can make some progress by manually getting it to lace up the machine with a fault in lacing. So you can manually lace it up and then let it unlace, and you can see a lot more what's going on. So let's see. Of course, I'm guessing which way the motor turns. That's lace up. Though you won't be able to see it. Oh, I see the clock's still on, even though it's powered off. So it must have a battery backup or super cap type thing. Right, so I'm lacing it up by hand. I may not go the whole way. I may get bored before I get the whole thing laced, but it's partly laced. As you can see, the tape is drawn out here. So now, if I power it up, will it attempt to unlace before it does something else? Oh, it laced! And it's gone into fast forward or something. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get it out of this position easily. It's audio dub, that's irrelevant. Record, I don't want to press that. It's all over the place, isn't it? That's all over the place, isn't it? Well, at least we've seen it can lace. Partly. But I've got buttons latched down now that I can't... Oh! Unlatch. Why is that stop button sticking down? Is that maybe just a bit of a lubrication issue? Yeah, it might be. Maybe the the locking bar is in need of a bit of work. So let's see if I can switch it on and say fast forward. No. Play. Won't latch down. Oh, latches down. That looks like it's actually playing. That looks about the right speed for play. Okay, stop. Aha. Rewind. No. There's a problem with the locking mechanism on this, I'm sure. But the fact it's attempting to play is interesting. Might be worth seeing if there's any kind of picture. Shall we do that? Ah, that's going to be a bit hard because there's nothing on this tape. Let's see if I can eject the tape. Oh dear. I need to sort out this locking bar problem, I think. No, it won't let me eject. Let's find out what's going on there. Some damage here. Look, there's a screw that's fitted on this plastic tab, but the tab is broken, so that's going to require a bit of gluing. I'll do that later. Oh, I found another drive belt. You can never have enough drive belts, can you, Toshiba? That's just for the tape counter. Interestingly, the whole circuit board, the main circuit board's fallen out. You have to make sure that doesn't short to anything. That should be eject. Let's find out why the stop bar's sticking. Let's get that problem solved, and it might... This bar here, look, that's the operation bar. So if you pull that down, that latches it in place until it's finished, and then it should be pushed up internally by the mechanism. Right, what button's that? That's rewind, and that one seems to work okay actually. Okay, like that. Then fast forward. Yep, that's working. It's actually catching on a piece of plastic. I'll put a little bit of grease on that, see if it helps. Well, I don't think I've completely solved that problem. The stop button's still latching down. Oh dear. Okay. But it's at least now I know how to work around it. So let's see if we can eject the tape. I'll be very careful with this circuit board at the back. Do not want touching anything. I can't put it back because I need to be able to see the deck. This bit of trim keeps falling off. Not helping my cause. Should I just be preemptive strike, take them all off? Okay. I want to eject the tape. Eject worked, except two things. One, the eject button didn't pop up afterwards, and two, it didn't take up the tape. So there was no real drive during eject, and hence it spilt tape all over the joint. So we may have a real drive issue during eject, but during play, real drive was working okay. I wonder if rewind isn't working. Shall we look at that? Because if rewind isn't working, that would explain why we didn't get the take up during eject. So rewind is this one, I think. Is that rewind? I could get that one to engage earlier, but I can't now. Play. No, play won't go. Everything's locked out now, except eject. I don't know what to do next. I have a choice of either go with my plan of seeing if we get a picture out of it in play when I put a different tape in, or try to debug what's going on now. Well, at the moment I can't even play anyway. None of the buttons will go down except stop and eject, which wasn't the case earlier on. Or do I just have to press harder? No. Why am I locked out of play? Let's have a closer look. Say rewind, that should work. And it did earlier. When it's fully laced, something should unlock the keys. Nothing to do with this bar. Something further up the front here. Okay, let's eject the tape. With no tape in it, it doesn't try to lace. That's reasonably sensible. There's some problems here because when it's completed ejecting, it should not still be running the motor. What should happen is, once it's hit the eject position, or in fact when it's reached the fully unlaced position, it should activate the stop. I'm going to take the cassette carriage off. I think there's more going on underneath here. Hopefully the cassette carriage comes off reasonably easily. I'm getting to an unholy pickle with this cassette carriage. Maybe I wasn't supposed to take the brackets off. Maybe I was just supposed to take it off from here. Oh, I don't like this. I need to get this cassette carriage off because I need to look at the wheel drive mechanism. But I'm in a terrible mess with it. Let's have a look at the wheel drive since I'm more or less there now, but I'm going to have an awful job reassembling this. There are two, I suppose you can see them. Let me see, get you better placed. There are two idlers here. And I imagine both of those have got worn idler tyres. That would be the reason I wasn't getting any rewind. So I will endeavour to repair those. One of them will be for play and one of them will be rewind. And I suspect that the play one is working but the rewind isn't. So I'll have to look at that. And maybe also I can work out why it's not getting into the proper stop position, so that it will unlock. Because at the moment I can't press any buttons apart from stop and eject because they've been locked. The locking in mechanism must be underneath here, so I need to get to that from the other side. But I did need to get to this top anyway because I need to look at these. Which one is the one that's relevant, do you think? Let's press the play button as far as I can for a moment. That's play. When I'm pressing play, I suspect this is the play idler here. And that one probably then is in okay condition. Yes, I can see that it's turning the head, so that one is probably okay. So the one we're having trouble with is probably this one here. And there's also a problem that it's not in proper stop position. So let's work on all that best I can. Fairly sure this is the idler that's being used to rewind and possibly fast forward. Now nothing's latching down. One thing after another. Try rewind. Rewind's working. There are spools rising up. How odd. That implies there must be a circlip or something missing from the spool there. Look. Or maybe there is nothing to hold them down. I don't know. That doesn't seem right to me. Surely there must be something holding those down. Anyway, rewind is working. Fast forward is working, albeit again the spool's riding up. But when I hit eject, neither of those... Oh, eject is not even trying anymore. Neither of those is being driven during eject. And I've got a problem with eject and latching, so lots of problems to solve. Yeah, one thing I've found is this part here, this lever is sticking. It's slow to retract, so that's definitely a fault. Whether it's relevant to this problem I don't know, but it's definitely a fault. So I'll have to lubricate that guide there. Well, since we were last here, I've made a little bit of progress on this. Let me show you what I've done. We now have the cassette carriage more or less back, but I've left this panel off, which gives me access to the mechanism so I can look at the real drive. And I'm just going to go through a little bit of that to check what's going on in the various modes. I've seen that it can fast forward tapes. It doesn't do a great job of rewinding them, but it does make some effort. It does attempt to play. Eject, it doesn't unlace the tape properly, so that's something that needs fixing. Let me have a look at the eject problem first. I hope you can see the deck. So and I do have various problems with functions not working very well, and I'm sure that there are lubrication issues with some of these components. Some of the pivots to these guides weren't very good. I've lubricated some of them and got them working a bit better. So this is the cassette in detector, which I've just annoyed, I think. Right. Why is that not lacing up? We have a problem already. I know it can lace up, but this lock here is preventing it. So let's just find out why that's happened. That's because it didn't see the tape in there properly. Right, try that again. There we go. That's laced up. Good. So that wasn't a fault. That was because I was trying to make it work without tape. Interestingly, the loading ring's got Toshiba embossed on it. So, fast forward will do. These spools pop up, but that's a reasonable fast forward, a little noisy. But fast forward is doing its thing. Let's try rewind. I know there's not enough torque on that. Oh, it feels like lots of torque there. But that's working. And play, we've had working all along. I can't engage play for some reason. Well, it was working earlier, and I know that works. But unlace is a big problem. Trouble is with this carriage down, it's hard to see. But I believe that the unlace should happen because this, if you can see it, this idler wheel here, I think, should take drive from the from the unlacing of the loading ring to drive one or the other spools, not sure which. And I think that's not working, and we'll prove it by hitting eject now. There we go. So this didn't rotate. Something wrong with that, and I don't know why it's stuck there. It should have stopped. But you can see it's trying to work. I'll have to look at the unlace problem later. I think we have enough of the machine working now that it's worth trying to hook up the TV and see if there's any kind of picture in play. And I now have a tape with some recordings on it. So let's hook up the audio and video connectors at the back. We have video. Lace up. Good. I hope play works now, because it didn't just now. There we go, play. Okay. There was an attempt at playback picture for a moment there. I'm sure tracking's not going to help, but where is the tracking control? That's speed control, that's not going to do it. Where is the tracking control? There it is. Swing that from side to side. No, nothing. We did have a hint of something. Let's try pause, if we can find the pause button. Oh, that was interesting. Pause speed. I'm not quite sure what it's doing there. Frame. It's not clear to me how to pause it. Pause and speed. Oh, I see. You operate that and then speed control kicks in. Right. So if you take it to minimum, it presumably stop, and that's high speed. You can see hints of picture, but it looks terrible. Make sure it's not a connection problem. Sure it's not. No. That certainly looks like an electronic fault. Almost certainly capacitor trouble. Yeah, you can see hints of colour, but there's not really much to see there. Let's stop the tape. That's not working particularly well. Try rewind. Rewind is more or less non-existent. It's making an effort, but so that needs a bit of work. But the lack of picture is a bigger concern. Why do I not have... Why is the play now locked out? Come on. Yeah, the play is now locked out. So these are lubrication issues, I'm sure. When things are getting locked out, it's because guides and things are not in the right place, or the parts of the mechanism are still sticky. Oh, there we are, it's freed itself up now. Definitely a picture there for a moment. And then eject will be horrible, because of course it will leave tape dangling out everywhere. Oh, it's not even... it's not unlacing. Why is that now? Come on, you can do it. Okay. So we can see that the mechanism fundamentally has all of the functions working, apart from the unlace reel drive. But the picture quality is, well, there is no quality. The picture is unwatchable. So there is a video signal processing issue deep in here somewhere, for which you would certainly need the schematics. I'm starting to think this machine might not be worth repairing. Of course, we do have the second machine, and there's always a possibility we could do some panel swapping, but it depends as to how much panel swapping is required and whether there'd be any better on the other one. Right, okay, well, there's a little bit of progress insofar as I know what I'm looking at, but before I condemn the electronics too much, I really don't recognise that picture as being due to dirty heads, but I will just check the heads. How am I going to do that? I need a small microscope thing I have here, and lots of light. Now, I've mentioned this before on one of my videos. This is the way I check for head contamination. I've got a little ×10, I think it is, microscope here. I'll pop that off actually, so I can get right up to the head tips, which you can see there. There's a head disc on this machine, and if I get just the right angle, I can get the head tip to glisten in the light, and then you can see if it's contaminated or damaged. And that head is perfect, completely clean. Unfortunately, I can't show you this. There's really no way to take a photo of that, but that one is perfect. Let's look at the other one. Spin it around. Also perfect. So, though we can't rule out the possibility of some head wear, fundamentally those heads are in good enough order to give us a picture, so no point worrying about that. So we have electronic problems, and I also would recognise, I think, that the electronics concerned with the RF amplification of the head signal are probably not to blame. That sort of crushed video looks later on in the video processing. Could be extremely hard to fix. Okay, let's take a think. Okay, having had a think about this, one thing I think is worth doing is to feed a composite video signal in and then out again, and just check that that looks okay, and help prove the basic system is working. So, to do that, I have one of my digital time-based correctors here, and one of the options for this is to put it into colour bars. So, the first thing I'll do is connect the digital time-based corrector directly to the TV. So, we have colour bars directly from this to the TV. Now let's see if we can loop that through the video recorder in what's called E to E mode, electrical to electrical, missing out the tape. Right, I now have the situation where the time-based corrector is feeding line in on this. The switch at the back is set to line. There's the input. Just want this board to stay put. Now, if I switch machine on, we should see the colour bars. And we almost certainly will, but let's just prove that point. Aha, we do. Just about see the TV from there. So, that proves a little bit of the video circuitry is working. I was kind of hoping that that would look crushed and that would show us that the video processing circuit that was giving us the terrible picture was very late and might be easy to fix. Very late in the circuit processing, but it's not. It's a little bit disappointing, really. So let's put my tape back. Oh, no unlace take up. And we're back to having little or no picture. Well, there is a picture, actually. How much of it you can see from there, I'm not sure, and I'm a bit concerned about moving this too much. But you can see that there is a picture, and that it's not rolling. The tracking is working. Let's just try the tracking. See if we can put noise bars in it. I think so. Yes, so I think the servos are working. And there's a hint of actual genuine colour in there too. Definitely looked like capacitor trouble. White clip. You see, it looks like most of the video processing is being done on this board. And I'm starting to wonder, after all my complaining that this machine's hard to work on, I must say that board looks very easy to remove. So what do you say? Should we swap it over for the other one? I reckon a lot of the video processing is on that board. Let's borrow the board from the other machine. It really couldn't be any easier to swap out that main board. Just 4 connectors. I mean, that is really lovely. So let's swap this out. Of course, you know, if it's got a problem with capacitors, it's quite possible that the same capacitors will have failed in both boards. It's got to be worth a shot. The other possibility, of course, is the fault is not on this board at all, or that it has different faults, but you know, got to be worth a go. Right, power it up. Ah! Look at that. Right, now let's try tracking. So we'll track to one extreme, yeah, and it's starting to mistrack at the bottom. And track the other way. Starting to mistrack a bit at the top, but generally, actually, the tracking's staying fairly good. It's not bad. Which implies that the heads may be in reasonably good shape, because usually, but not always, when heads become worn, the tracking becomes hyper fussy. I am seeing a few little black dots from time to time, but that could be down to tape condition, and the longer it plays, the better it's getting. Let's try the speed thing. So this is how you change your speed. That's slow motion, that's high speed, and somewhere here there must be an option for still. How do you work still? Not quite sure how to work it. Have to read the instructions. Oh well. And then back to normal operation. Oh, where's this frame thing? You must be in still mode for that. It says still. So I reckon when this is at still position, it's supposed to be stopped, but it's not quite stopping. So there's probably a preset adjustment for that. Okay, minor problem. The picture's a little grubby, but we don't know how good this recording was in the first place. I'm not complaining about that. That's a good start. I'm going to try and find a better recording later. What's the stability like? You know, in general, I think these earlier machines weren't... The servos weren't as good because the mechanisms were full of belts. They weren't as good as later models. I would say it's giving a perfectly acceptable performance. You can hear one of the motors is a little bit noisy, The bearing's a bit dry. Don't know which motor. Probably the head drum. With using it for a while, I may improve. Yeah, there's definitely the sounds of bearings grumbling. Alright, that's progress. I suppose the next thing I really need to look at is this unlace problem, because that really is making a bit of a mess of my tapes. I'll switch it to standby, and because it stays laced up, it doesn't damage the tape. Well, having now achieved good playback picture, I think we'll call that the end of part 1. So part 2 is going to be trying to get the myriad of mechanical problems solved and try to get the machine into full working order. Please rejoin me for that shortly. And in the meantime, do remember to like, share and especially subscribe, and I'll do more content on audio and video technology in the future. Bye for now.